How's it going?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I see we have a sparse crowd, and I am in no way surprised by this. Tonight is, as you all know, I'm sure, the GOP debate. One of the top people who will not be there is one of the most notable. That, of course, is Trump. He's the most notable. Everyone agrees. I personally, I don't know about you guys, but I am in the tank for Doug Burgum or Asa Hutchinson. Either one, possibly Mike Pence. Cannot make up my mind. But I have to say, I think that Chris Christie will be overshadowing everyone as he always does. That's a joke about his weight because he's gigantic and seems to not care at all about it, which, I mean, honestly, more power to him if you don't care at all. It's going to be an ish show. It's going to be really interesting. I think that Trump probably won't get mentioned too much. He shouldn't because Ben Shapiro was walking through the Democrats' wish list for this debate, and it includes things like focusing on Donald Trump a lot, focusing on some of the more conservative things that people like Ron DeSantis have pushed in Florida, like a 6-week abortion ban, other stuff like that. This is what they're really hoping those guys will go for. Now, I hope that at least some of these candidates will choose not to do those things because we know that the left and the media do not like conservatives. They do not like Republicans. I would like one of them to win in 2024. Not holding my breath at this point, even though they will be literally running against a walking cadaver. Hello, Unheil Snipes. Hello, God the Sun. Appreciate you joining me. Username says, I think Vivek will steal the show. We will see. We'll see. He is on record as having said he wanted to make this race impossible for DeSantis. So he's not my favorite person. I like the most conservative candidate right now, who is, in fact, the governor of my own state. But of course, I also have that additional baggage of living in the state he's governing, and I think it's fantastic. For example, when they're talking about bringing masks back, I'm like, I don't care. I live in Florida. I'll just be pointing out the New Yorkers and Californians from where I stand because they're not going to make us do that here. They might make the rest of you guys do that. Sorry. My governor went out of his way to make sure that COVID restrictions would not affect Florida the way it affected everyone else, and that's why the Florida economy is booming and everyone else is still struggling after COVID. All right, you guys, I'm going to start with some good news. I thought this was fantastic. No charges for concealed carrier who shot alleged robber while holding six-pack. Now, I saw somebody say maybe next time you should drop the six-pack, and I was like, no. Why would you do that? You obnoxious petty thief. You are not even important enough for me to set down my beer to take care of you. It looks like Miller Lite. He has terrible taste in beer, whatever. It's cheap. I appreciate that. I thought this was a fantastic story, and I'm especially glad that he's not in trouble for it. The concealed carry permit holder who shot an alleged robber while holding a six-pack of beer in Cassopolis, Michigan, will face no charges. Yay! 35-year-old Cornelius Anthony Martin allegedly entered the store and announced a robbery. Glad he announced it. Other people might not have known otherwise. Surveillance video shows a customer was in the store at the time with a six-pack of beer in his hand. The customer, a concealed carry permit holder, pulled his pistol, holding it in his right hand and shooting the robber while continuing to hold the beer in his left. That is someone who's very well trained in how to use his firearm, and I have to say, I respect it. I hope that everyone who owns or has a concealed carry permit is that well trained, comfortable enough with their weapon to use it in a situation like that. The customer, Martin was shot several times. Hello, pets of Lydia and Andy. Hello, Texas Rangers. Welcome in. I know you love Dip and Dot. As of today, we have a diaper bag, we have a rocking chair, and we got it all assembled and it's ready to go. We just need to put the changing table together, and then I think that's everything. I guess we need a bouncer still, but my sister might bring us one, so we'll see what happens. So we are well on our way to being ready to be parents. Ha 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 ha. You're never ready to be a parent, so we'll see what happens. All right, I just thought that was great news that this guy is not being charged for this. Very important that people not be afraid to defend themselves, even in Michigan. Fantastic. Let's see what this is. Is the American home shrinking? I wanted to ask you guys how important you think the size of rooms are, because today I was setting up the rocking chair in the living room and I was measuring it, right? Or it was yesterday I was measuring it. And it's something like 12 feet by 11 feet, the workable space in the living room. And I'm like, this is huge. This is plenty of room. There's going to be plenty of room for a couch. There's room for the little round chair we have. There's room for the TV table. And I'm like, how big do you need your living room to be? I really don't think it needs to be as big as Americans have made it. And when you look, I follow a lot of home pages, like home selling pages on Instagram, and I see pictures of homes from Europe in Canada, and the spaces are just so different. They are so much smaller, and I have to say, I don't think the space you need in your house is all that much, but let's read what's being affected by this. Average new construction has decreased by 10% since 2018. That's a pretty fast decrease. It's only been about 5 years, as homeowners cut back on dining areas and bathtubs. So this is their choice still, but we'll see. When the only person to tell you, hey, hold my beer is yourself, LMAO, yes, correct. You can't just say, hold my beer if there's no one else around. Sometimes you have to do it for yourself, and I have to say, again, super respect it. Good for that guy. The average home has shrunk to 2,420 square feet in the last 5 years. That's a lot of space for 2 people for sure. Ours is not that big, but we have plenty of room. Andy's all the way on the other side. He cannot hear me. He's got Dot. It's great. It's fine. When the baby's crying over here, he's not going to be bothered by it. All this other stuff, all of these practical features are afforded to us by having like half that space maybe. Housing affordability has reached record lows, with buyers facing the highest mortgage rates in more than 2 decades. That's the issue. Buying a house at all is incredibly expensive. Builders and architects are increasingly axing dining areas and bathtubs and decreasing the size of secondary bedrooms or loft spaces in new builds. I have to say that Andy and I, when we were first looking at houses, we were looking in West Virginia, and we found a house that could not even hold, it looked like it couldn't even hold a twin mattress. And I was like, what is this? Like, what's going on over here? But the market in West Virginia was really changing rapidly because it was so close to DC. But Lori says a swing is a must. We rarely use the changing table and they just take up space. So the changing table wouldn't be a changing table per se. It's actually also a dresser, which I'm assuming is going to be relatively important. I know Andy and I could sure use one. We just have the closet right now. I'd really like to bring some drawers into this equation. That would make our lives much more organized. As it is, it's hard to keep up with without those drawers. New homes have decreased by 10%. Right. The average construction has shrunk to 2,400 square feet. Do you guys even know how big your homes are? Because I think that most homes, I'm not sure how big the home that I was raised in was. I don't think it was that big. I do know that for a while in there, I had my own room, right, which was great. It was 7 feet by 7 feet. And I remember my twin bed. I ended up getting a loft bed because I knew that that was the best way to take advantage of the extremely limited space. And I was like, okay, so how do I make this happen? And then I got a desk in there, got a dresser on the other side, and then my, obviously, loft bed above it all worked great. But you can make it happen with less space. Just got to be a little smart. Newly built homes in Seattle are 18% smaller. Okay, well, there's your problem. It's in Seattle. Home builders are axing dining areas and bathtubs. That's too bad. Bathtubs are great. Andy loves the bath. Average unit size for new housing has decreased. Right. Yeah, here's the problem. Our new rate is 7.09% on mortgages, whereas in 2022-ish, it looks like it was about the same rate. Ridiculous. I was looking up a house today because I saw one on sale, for sale, on our way home from a phone store, and it was $500,000. And I was like, this is a very modest, very tiny home. I am so sweaty. This is very hot today, and I'm feeling it. So my apologies. Username says ours is 1,400 and great for our family. Yeah, you don't need that much space. Like, I feel like that's more than we have, but it's plenty for us. And like I said, I feel like our living room is huge. We also have a dining room that I don't even know that we need. We could probably just eat in the living room. Who knows? People are flexible. They're making do. Dirk says mine is 1,800. I always had shared rooms and bunk beds or trundle beds with siblings. Yes, for a while, all 3 of the girls shared a room, and then the 2 boys all shared another room, and we had just a bunch of extra space that way, and it was pretty great. I kind of liked sharing a room with my 2 sisters, but I was the neat and clean one. I was definitely neater and cleaner than my younger sister, which she would not contest. My older sister was pretty organized. I just happened to be neat and clean and wanted everything to be tidy. I was less organized than my older sister. But, oh yeah, they mentioned the tiny home movement, 100%. For a while there, I thought, if I never get married, I'm probably just going to go into nursing. I'm going to get a tiny home. I'll be able to afford it. I'll make relatively decent money. I'll probably make about $50,000 per year. And I'll just do my own thing. Probably have a cat, have my little tiny home. It'll be good. But yeah, I saw this earlier too. Housing affordability is worse than it was in 2006 as the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate reaches 2-decade high. Property prices still are not coming down. Why do you guys think that property prices still aren't coming down? Because I'm pretty sure it's BlackRock and Vanguard, but I'm not sure. Whisper says our house is super tiny for a family of 5, and you're just about to add another one. Sounds like you guys need to maybe buy a tiny house to put in the backyard, because I have heard of that being very effective too. Lori Lemon says a couple in Iola, Wisconsin made a handmade loft bed for their toddler. She got caught in the bars and suffocated. Oh, TVs were on all night and they didn't hear her. That's horrifying. You got to be really careful. So I'm really trying to be careful about the fabrics we bring into the house and the kinds of additives we put in our food, and also where we store that food. I really don't like, and Andy will tell you this too, Andy is crunchier than I am. We really don't like the plastic, all of that leaching stuff. I don't want water in a plastic water bottle. I don't want to store leftovers in a plastic box. I want glass and metal. And I have glass bottles already for the baby. I have glass. It's glass on the inside and then it's plastic on the outside so that when it drops, it doesn't break, because I also don't want the kid to be in danger from broken glass, because that's not good either. Babies do drop bottles all the time. Username says mortgage rates are still ridiculously high. Yeah, exactly. That's what the other article had to say. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Things come and go. Hard times happen. And somebody was pointing out today, I was reading in an Instagram comment, unfortunately, and then I promise we are going to talk about the news, that our grandparents were actually at an advantage when it came to the Great Depression, because they had room for a garden. They had their victory gardens, and they had the know-how to plant that stuff, and their homes were paid off, and they owned their cars, and their stuff wasn't streamed, and they didn't have to go to the grocery store all the time. And I was just like, yeah, that's depressing, but it's true, because now we have everything instantly, everything's streaming, we have everything at our fingertips, and we're not better off. And I am convinced that the coming years are going to teach us how much better it is to be self-reliant than to depend on companies like Amazon. So, all right, let's talk about tonight's exciting debate. Dun, dun, dun. Everything you need to know. 8 Republican presidential candidates will get a chance to test their mettle, METTLE, which I love, during tonight's first 2024 primary debate. Here's what you want to know before tuning in. When and where is the debate? Our debate will take place at the Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. A countdown to the debate program will air on Fox News at 8:30, hosted by Dana Perino and Bill Hemmer. I don't even know these people at all. We don't even have our TV set up, so we won't be watching this on Fox. How can I watch it? Fox News Channel will host the debate. It will simultaneously be broadcast on Fox Business Network, FoxNews.com, Fox Nation, and Rumble. Interesting that they're using Rumble. That's fantastic. Fox News chief political anchor Bret Baier and the story host Martha McCallum will question the candidates. Really like Bret Baier. I suspect that if he gets sick of Fox in a way that Tucker wasn't able to manage, he will be the next one to leave, because he's very down-to-earth, very common sense, very nonpartisan, historical author who's written a bunch of really interesting, neat, unbiased books. What candidates will be there? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, there we go, former ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, Senator Tim Scott, former Vice President Mike Pence, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson will attend. Not sure about Doug. He's my man in this race. He actually had to go to the ER because he got injured playing pickup basketball earlier today. So hopefully he's able to make it. We'll have to see what happens. My goodness, I'm so shiny. I was fine before, and then I started talking. Also, I guess I took my hair down. That was probably part of it. Yeah, that'll make you hot. Republican National Committee confirmed Monday all 8 GOP presidential candidates had qualified, will be situated based on their polling numbers, with candidates with the most support placed center stage. Now, from my understanding, Larry Elder was disqualified from this debate because the poll that found him popular enough to engage with it was considered too biased in favor of the right, which was really interesting to me. Rasmussen, they consider to be not dependable enough. What about Trump? Now, isn't that always the question? Frontrunner, former President Donald Trump, announced Sunday he would not attend the debate, citing his legendary lead in the 2024 contest. Former Fox News host Tucker Carlson will air a pre-recorded interview with Trump during the debate on X, formerly known as Twitter. Let's just call it formerly known as Twitter instead of X. It makes more sense. Several Trump surrogates, including Trump Jr., Marjorie Taylor Greene, Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, and Carlos Gimenez, have said they will attend, but from my understanding, Fox News said that they couldn't attend. Let's look that up because I'm not sure where we stand with that. Very interesting. Wait, this microphone. All right. Trump surrogates. Trump surrogates won't get Fox News spin room credentials. Okay. Yeah, so Trump skipping GOP debate means no Fox News spin room credentials for his surrogates. It looks like they will be able to attend. They won't be able to get into the spin room. Very interesting. Okay, well, I don't know. Do you guys think that's fair or not? Has a candidate ever tried to do this before? I actually really don't know. So if you guys know of a case where this has happened before, if we have precedent for this kind of thing, let me know. I think it's whatever Fox wants to do. It's their party. They can cry if they want to. A lot of people probably aren't going to watch it, and they're probably not going to get a lot of views on it because the other thing, too, is that they said that people are not allowed to comment on it. This is insane to me. Absolutely nuts. So you know how most people will pull the videos and watch it and commentate as they go along, like pausing it to speak and everything? A lot of conservative people do this. A lot of people find this a very enjoyable way to engage with the debate instead of just watching it on Fox. Fox has said that they will pursue legal action against people who use more than 3 minutes of the show on their shows. Absolutely nuts to me. So I don't think anyone's going to even want to watch this. In fact, I saw a recent poll. I don't remember who ran it. It was on Twitter, so I have no idea how accurate it was. It's probably not very. Lots of people were planning to watch Tucker, and lots of people were planning to do neither, but not many people were planning to watch Fox, so we'll see. We will see moving forward. What is in the New York Post's drinking game? The Post's very official drinking game for the Republican presidential debate. If you're like us, the 2024 presidential campaign has already driven you to drink. Yes, definitely. So why not make the best of it with the Post's official 2024 Republican primary debate drinking game? Well, in my case, it's because I'm pregnant, but thank you. To play, simply grab your preferred poison. Mine would be water. A copy of the rules and tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern with the 8 contenders for the GOP nomination take the stage at the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. You may have your favorites from Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, Tim Scott, blah, blah, blah. But even your least favorite candidate can help make the 2 hours fly by. With the right combination of campaign slogans and buzzwords, you won't have to worry about being woke or passing Haley's cognitive test. And don't worry, we'll make sure you keep hydrated. For money, play for bragging rights, or just play for fun. Let's see what we got. But first, prepare yourself with a Post roundup of key issues and where each candidate stands. Make sure you know exactly how to watch and what to expect, and learn more about the moderators. Take a sip of water every time Donald Trump is mentioned. This will keep you hydrated. That's actually a good question. Will it keep you hydrated? Are they going to talk about him a lot? Because a lot of them would probably not mention him too much at all. Now, Vivek, I think, is going to emphasize him heavily because Donald Trump is basically treating Vivek like his vice president right now, which is interesting to me. And he also hasn't had a whole lot of hit pieces on him, which I was asking people about on Twitter yesterday because I was like, nobody really seems to have it in for Vivek. They seem to think that he's great, which is really interesting to me. Why do they think that? I tend to not like people that the mainstream media think are great. There you go. Take a shot when the camera first pans to the moderator. Let's get this started. Oh my, ambitious. Take a sip of your drink every time a candidate says woke. When a candidate calls another candidate by an unflattering nickname. Interesting. When someone references the Biden crime family, maybe not. When someone says they will eliminate government agencies, that's a good one. When someone says President Kamala or alludes to the idea that Joe Biden could die, take a second sip of Nikki Haley says it. When a candidate uses a 3-letter acronym, FBI, IRS, DEI, CDC. When a candidate tries to deflect when asked if they think the election was rigged. That's a good one. We'll see how many do that. When a candidate says they support Trump's movement but think they're the one to finish the job. When a candidate interrupts someone else. When a candidate mentions what state they're from. Take another shot if Chris Christie refers to The great state of New Jersey. Dear Lord, I would require a shot if you referred to New Jersey as a great state. It's not. Everything about New Jersey sucks except the landscape. I enjoyed the landscape when I was there. For every January 6th, if someone makes a joke about Chris Christie's weight, they better not. I can't imagine they would. If someone says Nikki Haley is past her prime, I don't think they will. Mix it with some orange juice. If Ron DeSantis says Florida is where woke goes to die, I hope he does. Take a sip of Bud Light every time climate change is mentioned. Don't drink Bud Light. We're going to read more about them in a minute, but hang in there. Shotgun a Bud Light if Trump surrenders in Fulton County, Georgia during the debate. Oh my. I really like these rules and they're hilarious. You guys should check this out from the New York Post. They have fantastic rules. Really curious if anybody's going to have to shotgun a Bud Light tonight, because a lot of the other people who were on his team have surrendered today. We'll see what Trump has to say. I know he's going to try to steal the spotlight. I know that Tucker's airing this right now or tonight rather, because they are trying to kind of steal the sunshine from Fox News. And I really don't blame Tucker at this point at all. But let me see if I can find a picture of the ones that ended up surrendering today. Let's see. The Vatican is slamming the border fence, blah, blah, blah. Great to hear Vatican City's about to lead by example and tear down its own border wall. Oh, wait, it's not. Yeah, no, it's not. Guns over people. Guns over people. Yes, thank you, Julio. That's correct. One of the reasons we started official PSQ was because of the disastrous COVID restrictions that were forced on Americans. We want to give you a place to find businesses that would not violate your rights by forcing you to cover your face or show a vaccine card just to get a cup of coffee. We even funded the legal fees for businesses in our network punished by their government for opposing them. If they bring these cruel policies back, PublicSq businesses will continue to stand strong for your medical freedom. Thank you, Michael Seifert. We appreciate that for sure. Full disclosure, this is Andy's boss, and they're doing great stuff over there. I could not be happier with what they're working on over there. Very, very proud of their principals for sure. Oh, let's see. I was looking for that picture because people were sharing it, talking about how these people turned themselves in. Yeah, okay. Trump will headline Bedminster fundraiser for Rudy Giuliani legal defense. Now, I want to point out that he's not paying the legal fees for all of the people who are being indicted alongside him, which I personally think very, very dangerous to put yourself in that position. If you don't want people to flip on you, you better be on their good side. But he is not taking that extra step. So really curious if people like Jenna Ellis, who has not recently been his biggest fan, and he is not paying her legal fees. Really curious what she has to say. Very curious. Catholic University blocks Matt Walsh. Right. Okay, we're just getting distracted at this point. Welcome to Twitter for sure. Tonight is the night, less than 3 hours away from the first Republican presidential primary debate of the 2024 campaign, hosted by Fox News. Live with Brett Baer, says Bill Malugin. Bill's great. He's down on the border all the time. Amazing. Good stuff. Of course, we have the drinking rules. Good stuff. Biden makes national tragedies about himself for 2 minutes. That's for sure. Leading up to tonight's debate, the leftist media's coverage of DeSantis was 78% negative and focused on the Florida governor's war on woke. That's correct. Yeah, good stuff. Curious what percentage of the media's attention on Trump has been negative recently, because I think they really, really want him to run. I think they want him almost to win. Okay, here are the mugshots of the people who were turned in today. Fulton County releases Rudy Giuliani, other co-defendants' mugshots in Trump election case. Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, I think that's Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell. I don't remember these other people. One of them's Trump's lawyer. Let's see if they list the people. Fulton County Sheriff's Office released 4 booking photos of the Georgia election interference case. Kenneth Chesbrough, Ray Smith, David Schaefer, Kathy Latham. I don't know these people at all. Fulton County Sheriff's Office released Scott Howell and John Eastman, who turned themselves in earlier. John Eastman was one of the lawyers for Trump, so I'm really curious. Weenie Beanie Burr, great name. Congratulations on the baby, guys. Just had our first in July. It's definitely an experience. Much love. Thank you. I hope you're getting a little bit of sleep right about now, although that was really recent. So I'm surprised you're engaging with the internet at all at this point, because I feel like I'm going to be just dead. Greetings, my excellent friends, says Martin. Martin, thank you for joining us. Texas Ranger says people like Vivek because he's quick on his feet in speaking and isn't 85 like the president is. Yes, he does offer a certain kind of contrast. However, As always, I have to point out that Donald Trump will be at the limit of the average life expectancy for males in the U.S. by the time he's elected in 2024, if he does win again, and Ron DeSantis is 38 years old. Vivek Ramaswamy talks about stuff, and Ron DeSantis does stuff, and that's part of the reason that I like Ron more than I like Vivek. They could be a really cool team. I think that would be interesting. All I know is the early history of the debates shows that they could take days to complete sometimes. Oh, gosh. I found an article on Yahoo that says Fox will play clips for Trump and have the candidates respond. Interesting. Easiest answer in Dallas-Fort Worth, where I live, is that supply is not meeting demand in home building here. In Austin, there are more Airbnbs than houses for sale. Austin's a special kind of mess because a lot of Democrats moved in there, very much like they did in Colorado. If you know what's good for Texas, you will not let those people vote. I heard, but I'm not sure. I heard that Florida has they call it a 2-turn waiting period before people can vote after they move to the state. Really interesting. In fact, let me look that up real fast. 2-turn. I cannot spell. Waiting period. Some sleep, that is its own battle for sure. Yeah, I'm already not sleeping very well, as you can tell by how distractible I am here. All right, let's see if we can find anything. How long does it take? Okay, not movers. No, I don't want movers. 2-turn waiting period, Florida moving. Waiting periods. Okay, so I gotta be a little more specific. Can't spell. 2-turned. 2-turned. Indeed. 2-turn. Can't spell again. Awesome. Brief same-day voter registration. Summary of pre-registration. Where do I vote? Not really seeing an immediate answer. Oh my gosh. Well, I have to look that up. Yeah, I just spelled it too wrong for Google to come up with any news about it. Oh well, that's fine. You guys can look it up and let me know if I'm incorrect. I do love the idea of making people wait for 2 election cycles to be complete before they can vote after they move from another state. As I showed you guys videos from Denver last night, it looks just like San Francisco. San Francisco, the Rockies, absolutely insane to me. Oh, Leonardo says Vivek is a dead end. The Brahmin personality will grate on most Americans when they get to know it. We'll have to see. He has a very cute little family. His wife's a doctor. Very wholesome, good stuff. I like Ron DeSantis, too, the only veteran in the race. That's another thing, too. I really appreciate family men. I really appreciate men who have children, men who are married, men who've been married for some time. Tim Scott is not married at all, and that was kind of bothering me when he first got into the race. Oh, I hear Dot. I hear Dot Foots. Whisper says, both my boys sleep mostly through the night. As new babies, we were lucky. They don't anymore, though. Yes, I hear that can change for sure. All right, you guys, tonight I really wanted to talk about some gender stuff. And I think that we might be far enough in that we can have these conversations without getting demonetized. Thought this was super interesting. A while ago, we read the story of the whistleblower in St. Louis, talking about the transgender clinic that hastily prescribed hormone drugs to kids. Whistleblower vindicated after claim about transgender gender clinic, right? Explosive claims that a Missouri children's transgender clinic was hastily prescribing hormone drugs to some young patients, including those with psychiatric issues, have been corroborated some 7 months after a whistleblower first came forward, but was quickly slammed by critics as a liar. Jamie Reed, 42, a former caseworker, emerged in February with damning allegations that the Washington University Transgender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital was doling out the hormone drugs to kids with very little oversight of their mental health issues. Yeah, not good. Now, the New York Times has confirmed elements of her allegations, including that the center failed to help some who regretted their transitions after speaking with dozens of patients and reviewing hundreds of pages of documents detailing the center's care plans. Good for the New York Times for doing a little bit of journalism. Proud of them. Really frustrating that these are the organizations that have the money to do investigations like that, and they just won't because they're ideologically captured. Gross. Documents and emails obtained by the outlet show that the St. Louis clinic relied heavily on external therapists, including some who had little experience with gender issues, to vet the incoming patients to see if they should be prescribed hormonal medications. The vetting process involved making sure patients had identified as trans for at least 6 months, had consent from their parents, and a letter of support from a therapist. Doctors then doled out medications to those approved patients, even those with psychiatric diagnoses that had raised red flags. Right. Really bad stuff. Some patients claim the center ignored their calls for help after they decided to detransition or stop taking hormone treatments, the emails reportedly show. One patient had reached out to the center in January 2020 to say they detransitioned and needed help getting a coach to help with their now masculine voice, according to the reported emails. They added they were also seeking an autism referral, writing, "I have mentioned this before at appointments and over email, but it did not seem to go anywhere." No kidding, because they want to transition you. They don't care about your autism. They don't care about your mental health. They don't care about you. They want you to be a lifelong patient because this is hundreds of thousands of dollars for them. And it needs to be resisted every step of the way. And I'm so glad this is coming to light. This should be a huge story. And I'm really sorry that the election in 2024 is being overshadowed by this stuff. I think I saw mention about Josh Hawley. Oh, let's see here. Yeah. Reed's claims sparked an investigation by Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey into the clinic's practices, as well as an inquiry by Republican Senator Josh Hawley. At the time, several families of patients lashed out, saying Reed's allegations didn't align with their experiences. My anecdote overrules what you saw working there. So somebody who works there is going to see a lot of different instances of this possibly happening. Whereas one family who is happy with their experience is going to be one instance, 100% an anecdote referral. Not trustworthy. At the time, several families of patients lashed out, right? The idea that nobody got information, that everybody was pushed toward treatment, is just not true. Well, this is how they get you, right? Everybody was pushed toward treatment. That's not what she said. Nobody got information. Also not what she said at all. She's pointing out that it was happening and that it shouldn't be and that they needed to be held accountable. Entirely correct. She says that this mother says, "I'm baffled by it." Of course you do. Your child is transgender and you affirm them in it and you are not a good person because of it. So I'm going to discount what you have to say. I just wanted to share that little bit of good news. I hope that more truth comes out about this particular clinic. Let's look at some more gender insanity. Number of transgender surgeries performed each year has tripled across the U.S. in the past 3 years, with more than 1,200 procedures performed in patients 18 or younger annually, according to a study. Among the youngest patients, the most common were breast and chin operations. You won't forget that down the road, huh? More than 3,000 young people had those kinds of operations during the 5 years. Sex change surgeries carried out across the U.S. annually have nearly tripled in recent years, a study suggests. The number of gender-affirming operations nearly tripled from 2016 to 2019 before dropping slightly in 2020, according to research published Wednesday. Adrian is here. Thank you for joining us, Adrian, and thank you for your super chat. Happy you could make it. The increase likely reflects expanded insurance coverage for transgender care after the Obama administration in some states actively discouraged discrimination based on gender identity. Interesting. Oh my gosh. Tonight, there's nothing I can do. I'm just going to be shiny. It's just the way it is. In the last couple of years, many states have taken steps to restrict or ban transgender care for people under age 18, adding to a waiting list of patients seeking care in states that have declared themselves refuges for transgender people. St. Miles, thank you for joining. Thank you for your super chat. Here is our friend Dylan. After a facial feminization surgery. Looks awful. I cannot imagine why you would do this to yourself. Crazy stuff. Really, really crazy. And I gotta be honest, I couldn't personally see a huge difference before and after Dylan got that surgery. Private insurance companies cover most patients who had such surgeries, the researchers found. Right. Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser, was that it? Kaiser Permanente, I believe, is being sued by Chloe Cole for pushing her through with this. And a lot of other insurance companies should be as well. About 1 in 4 patients receive coverage through Medicaid, the federal state health care insurance program that helps pay for health care for low-income people. That certainly should not be the case. I don't want to pay for this stuff. My tax dollars should not go toward this. I thought this was crazy, and I've been wanting to talk about this for like 3 days now, so let's discuss it a little bit. And then I might have to wrap early because I can't breathe, and I'm super sweaty. It's ridiculous. AMA under fire for floating taxpayer-funded uterus transplants for biological men. An activist position. The American Medical Association accused of abandoning important transgender research for activism. Clearly the case. Let's read. Clinics are calling out the American Medical Association for activist position after it recently floated the idea of taxpayers footing the hefty bill for biological men seeking a uterus transplant. The mind boggles. Oh. The AMA's Journal of Ethics made arguments for uterus transplants for transgender patients in June, including whether taxpayers should bear the costs, which could be anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 for each procedure. And we don't even know if it's going to do anything, if it's going to actually work in any real sense of the term, because I got news about the uterus. It's a very involved, complicated organ that does amazing things and expands like 50 times over the course of a pregnancy. So what exactly do you expect a uterus to do in a masculine body? Because I don't know if you guys have seen, let me pull this up. I'm constantly talking about this, and I feel like not enough people know what I'm talking about. Male versus female pelvis bones. There's a world of difference between a male and a female pelvis. It's insane. They don't even look like they're from the same species. You can tell. This was the easiest bone to identify in A&P. They're like, oh, is this a female or a masculine pelvis? This wide central hole right in the middle for the birth canal, these wide pelvic arches, this is the stuff that affects people's center of gravity and the distribution of weight. And super, super easy to tell which is which. So hard to disguise, so hard to pretend it doesn't exist. Let's take a quick look at this illustration. So the pubic arch is 60 to 70 degrees, a deeper pelvic cavity, higher iliac crest. This is why men have narrow hips. This is why men can run faster. Women's hips are wider. This is why women have wider hips, shorter. We have the greater pubic arch. It's just entirely different because it's designed to host either a uterus or not a uterus. Pretty freaking straightforward. St. Miles says Frankenstein monsters. You know, it's definitely an activist position when they're copying the city of Berkeley, the first place in America to use tax dollars to fund transition surgery, says Stevie. 100%. St. Miles says, when I was an LPN scrub nurse and I have done over 200 TAHs, I will never work. I'm not sure if I'm missing part of that. If we are missing part of that, for sure, let us know. Notice the notched area. Okay, so this is all different. And there's a reason for every single one of these differences. Like women have much shorter curved sacrums. That's this bone, the tailbone. Men have longer, straighter sacrums. Everything about it. The tilt of the pelvis, completely different. Adrian says, I'd like to have a nutsack on my forehead because science. Sure, why not? If we're handing out surgeries like this, why not? Literally, what is the argument against that? Since we're doing absolutely nutso stuff. The other thing about the uterus is that one of the things that happens during pregnancy is that an entire new organ is grown based on oxygen supplies from the woman's body. This is not a pregnant person. This is the female body providing oxygen to something called a placenta, which is something that a man will never create. Ever. Absolutely never. So here's Chloe Cole talking about big money and the big trans movement. Really frustrating. Medically, it's possible, he says. The question is, should it be done? It's odd that the AMA is choosing to really focus on this activist position rather than fund the important research we need in transgender medicine. What's the regret rate after transition surgery? What's the long-term complication rate of hormones? Great questions. And I do agree that technically it is probably possible to put a uterus, which starts out at about this size, into a male pelvis. Now, what you plan to do with that uterus is going to be severely restricted by everything, including blood supply, oxygen supply, hormones, every single part of this, the shape of the pelvis itself. Right now, my uterus is like 50 times bigger than it was at first. This baby is like 3 to 4 pounds right now. That's a huge difference. It's pushing all of my internal organs up. This is why I can't breathe right now. Everything is being adjusted for this one organ, 2 organs, I guess it would be, and this additional human being up in there. And it's a big difference. And it's not something you can just transplant and make happen. This is actual insanity. So one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of these leftist movements is that we are consistently trying to play God, and it is going to backfire on us until we learn our lesson. Username says they've obviously never watched Jurassic Park. That's right. We were so fixated on the idea of whether we could, we never stopped to think about whether we should. To be fair, I've never watched Jurassic Park either. Adrian says, I have an itty bitty uterus. I have a photo of it outside my body. Fascinating. I'm sorry to hear that. Want to see it, Lyd, says Adrian. Not really, but I trust you. I do. I know you can have a tilted uterus. I know all sorts of things can go wrong. Like I have little tiny fibroids on my ovaries. Who knows what happens? And we also didn't even know the role that hormones play. This is something that I was talking about on Twitter the other day. Let me see if I can pull that up because that didn't get very much interaction, but I really wanted to highlight it because it's extremely important. Legitimately, I don't know if people recognize the role that hormones play and how very little we know about them, because I was looking up the hormone relaxin, because relaxin is one of the hormones that goes into overdrive when you're pregnant for a lot of reasons. It does a lot of different things. It sounds like an incredibly amazing hormone that serves all sorts of purposes. We don't know anything about it, right? We genuinely don't. In fact, this article was talking about how actually men can have some of it too. We don't know why. We don't know what it does, but it obviously interacts with male hormones too. And it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? How advanced is our medical science that we're just saying, you know what? Probably what we can do is take this male hormone, just one, testosterone, and apply it to a female body and see what happens. Are you nuts? That is like a caveman level understanding about how males and females work when we don't even know the first thing about all of these little hormones that come alongside these big ones, because it ain't just estrogen and testosterone. It's a lot of different stuff. And especially when you're pregnant or going through female cycles, you aren't going to be at a normal level. Let's see here. Oh, Adrian says, I like to I had a myomectomy. They had to pull it out to solder off a big fibroid. My goodness, it's all cute and tiny because she has broken an unuted model. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm a boy at heart. My organs outside my body were pretty cool. Indeed. That's horrifying, but at the same time, very interesting. I have to agree. Username says there's a hormone that's released only when you breastfeed a baby. Crazy stuff. Yes, oxytocin is big when it comes to breastfeeding. A lot of other hormones. And when talking about males lactating, turned my stomach because I've been looking into that right now. And I'm just like, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't get into that. That just sounds like you're going to poison a baby. And I don't think that's what we want. It's not what I want. Pretty sure trans activists really don't care. What is this mode? Yeah. I said this one little hormone. This is one little hormone. I looked it up because it has effects during pregnancy. Imagine prescribing cross-sex hormones to physically immature people without even knowing what various hormones are designed to do exactly, because we don't. How they influence other hormones. It is 100% a domino effect. All the ways they work even alone. If you knew that all of them even are, what all of them even are when they're in action in people of the appropriate gender at full maturity. Medical malpractice at best, biological warfare at worst. And this page, super cool page about hormones, says there is some evidence that relaxin can relax the ligaments at the front of the pelvis to ease delivery of the baby. That's pretty great, right? There are several other factors involved in labor, but the exact trigger remains unclear. We don't even know what triggers labor in human beings. And we're talking about, oh, hey, you know what we should do to turn boys into girls and girls into boys? We should just apply estrogen to one and testosterone to the other and see what happens. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen to these poor, poor people? Relaxin belongs to the same family of hormones as insulin. Over the last decade, several relaxin-like peptides have been discovered, although the function of these peptides requires further investigation. The role of relaxin in men is less well described. However, there's evidence that it may increase the movement of sperm cell in action. Fascinating. So we don't know what it does. It's in both women and men, and it does different things. It relaxes parts of women. It makes other things move more in men. What is the commonality there? I don't know. And I added, we don't know ish about ish is my point. And don't get me wrong, it's fascinating and amazing, but just highlights to me that grog apply lady hormone to man body to make a kind of lady might just be a little oversimple. Yeah, because it is. Tissue fibrosis is the formation of hard tissue, blah, blah, blah. This has made relaxin of interest to scientists studying how the heart heals after it has been damaged. Fascinating, which may help treat heart failure in the future. See, they need to focus on hormones because they can use them to help people heal actual issues. Not this transgender nonsense, actually focusing on stuff that people need. In addition, relaxin can influence blood pressure by relaxing blood vessels, promote the growth of new blood vessels, and also anti-inflammatory. All of these properties can make it a potential therapeutic target for the treatment of certain diseases. Very cool. We don't even know how relaxin is controlled in the body, right? The control of relaxin release in humans is not fully understood. It's believed relaxin production by the ovaries during the menstrual cycle is stimulated by luteinizing hormones from the pituitary gland, and that is released during pregnancy, also stimulated by human chorionic gonadotrophin from the placenta. It remains unclear whether relaxin can feed back to the pituitary or to the fetus to affect luteinizing hormones or human chorionic HCG, we'll call it, levels, and so control its own release. We don't even know anything about how it works. We don't know what exactly it does in the different genders. Infuriating. No thank you on male pregnancies. The seahorses already have taken that bullet for the rest of us vertebrates. Yes, 100%. I agree with you, Jared. I think we should talk about male seahorses more often because they're fantastic fathers that do fantastic things for their ladies. I think they fertilize the eggs. In the females, and the females transfer them to the males. I think is how that works. But the males still fertilize the eggs. They just incubate the eggs because they have a position to do that in. Adrian says, let's see men in labor. It will be hilarious. They'll fling themselves from rooftops. Problem solved. I mean, yeah, could fix it. Andy says his phone chat says I need to refresh every 5 minutes to see everything. Kind of delayed tonight. Interesting. Mr. Proxy, this whole revolutionary technology implanting wombs into men to give birth, it's the most insane Frankenstein experiment ever. There's no way it will have good results. Ekim says, labor pains for men. Try being a man who's caught a cold. Men and women process pain super differently. And it's actually really interesting to me that we never actually looked into how women process pain until really recently. We just didn't know. But it is hugely different. And it's affected by all kinds of things, including, but not limited to, the fact that women have to go through immense pain for childbirth. And so they process it probably on a slightly more serious level. Not sure how that goes. I don't know much about that, but I just think it's super interesting. Anyway, I want to share that with you guys. It's absolutely horrifying. Let's not put uteruses into men. We don't even understand how they work in women. Andy and I will just add this in passing, and then I'm going to close. Oh no, that took me back to the home. No. Oh yeah. Chief psychologist in California Children's Hospital claims that kids can identify as gender minotaurs as she celebrates a revolution by youth who know more than we do. Absolutely nuts to me. Oh no, go away. We don't want that. Oh my gosh. So annoying. I hate the ads on Daily Mail, and they do not let me turn them off. Andy and I are constantly going back and forth about psychologists and counseling and therapy and stuff like that. I think it's really bad. Andy thinks that it has its place. I think two things can be true at once. I think that there could be a place for therapy and for counseling, and also that it is completely possessed by basically females at this point. Something like 68% of people are 68% of the people who are therapists and psychologists are females, and a lot of them really like the ideas of feminist psychology. So there's your problem right there. A lot of therapy is given for people who have climate anxiety and stuff of that nature. It does not help that other stuff. I do remember a medical study done several years ago on mice when by knocking out the FOXL2 gene in adult female mice causes their ovaries to transdifferentiate into functional male testes. Trippy stuff. Fascinating stuff. Well, they should focus in on that stuff and try to figure out exactly why that happens instead of being activists and pushing this to the limit. But as I was saying, basically psychologists are not good and therapy is not good, and Andy disagrees with me on that, and I think it's fine. We had a really good counselor before we came down here, which I was shocked by. I found a really good one up in Massachusetts, and she's great. And I recognize that there are exceptions to the rule, but I'm afraid that the rule is that people who are giving therapy are actually making everything way worse. Mr. Proxy, there's always been this teeny tiny % of serious mental cases. Children who try to do things like destroying their own genitalia, even from age 3, they are trying to build a social movement on these extreme cases. Yeah, really, really upsetting. Actual literal serial killer stuff. This is Hannibal Lecter material. This is Jigsaw the Killer type stuff. Absolutely crazy. And a little bit more good news, and then we'll wrap it. Ad firm behind Bud Light's Dylan Mulvaney fiasco fires 13 staffers after lavish French trip, according to sources. Well, I wonder why that happened. The California Shock. Marketing firm behind Bud Light's disastrous tie-up with Dylan Mulvaney fired more than a dozen employees days after top brass boasted about a lavish junket to an awards ceremony on the French Riviera, the Post has learned. San Mateo-based Captivate, which the Post exclusively identified as the ad agency behind Anheuser-Busch's short-lived partnership with the trans influencer, flew executives and guests on a private jet to the annual Cannes Lions Festival in June. Captivate booked the private charter and a boutique French airline called La Panée. I don't know how to pronounce anything French, so I'm not even going to try. Which features 76 lay-flat seats and bespoke plane experience, according to a press release on the trip. I'm glad they're making a bunch of money. Even happier that they had to fire a dozen plus employees. Get lost. They said they were investing in the future of the company and building relationships. One current worker who survived the purge told the Post, adding maybe they could have saved jobs instead of blowing all this money in cans. Yeah, 100%. Well, I wish them the best going forward because I trust that now we know who they are. It's very unlikely that they're going to be getting a whole lot more business from the sane people in the world, but we'll see what happens. The world is largely insane, so it's possible that people will find this particular style of marketing appealing, but after what happened to Bud Light, might not be in their best interest to publicize that they ever worked anywhere near Bud Light or Dylan Mulvaney. All right, you guys. Whew, goodness gracious. Anyone else think all these millions Bud Light is losing purely because they are funding Mulvaney's extravagant vacations with elite security detail? Possibly so. Who knows? Oh, Adrian Curry's husband had that terrible disease that's been going around lately. I'm very sorry to hear that. Glad he's recovering. I still feel like I haven't really fully recovered my sense of smell/taste ever since COVID. Call that long COVID because it's been a year and a half, 2 years at this point. Oh, well, really, really irritating, but... All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. Go get ready for the debate. Go get ready for Timcast IRL. Adrian says go lie on the couch. We don't have a couch yet, but we are getting a rug. And then on one of our future paychecks, we will be getting a rug moving forward for sure. All right, you guys, I will see you all tomorrow. Remember our motto. It seems to be working. Stay safe, stay well, stay out of Target. Until next time. Bye, guys.
How's it going?